Okay, well, welcome to the DS200. This new machine is kind of convenient because it does roll and it is handy, but when putting it up onto the can for the first time, I recommend that two people do that. The other critical piece is that never ever should this door be open getting water or dust or debris in it. So you need to make sure that that is closed before you go handling that. So with two people, you grab onto the handles here on each side. Set it in, and we're ready to start the locking procedures. So there are several locks on this machine, on the machine piece itself and on the barrel. The first step that you're going to want to do is once you get this onto the canisters, you're going to want to lock it. So when the key is up and down, it is not locked. So we're going to lock it, and we're going to go to the other side here. When the key is up and down, it is not locked. So we're going to lock it. Now, if I try to take this off by myself, you can see that that's not going to happen. So then the next step is going to be to get the power cord out. And that is in the back. And once you get that down, you'll see that the power cord is stuck inside here. There's a bar that is somewhat in your way. Well, the good news is this bar is going to have to get pushed down into this locking chamber in order for it to be in use. One thing you'll see here is that I've got the power cord around that. We want to make sure that's not the case. So bring that up and above, make sure that you've got a firm connection there. Bring that bar back around, and now that's going to be good. So what you're looking at on the back of this machine is a lever that once you have the power cord out, you can't lock this back up. And people are going to say, well, isn't that insecure? Well, there is no way to access the ballot or the programming stick. And as you can see here, there are two acrylic windows. What you'll see is when the ballots jam, you'll be able to see that. So once this is open for the entire election day until you need to pack it up to take it down. So now that the machine has been plugged in, we need to actually get into the machine. So you've got the two handles here, and the hood just kind of comes up. While that's doing that, I'll show you where the ballots are stored. So ballots will go in this bin. You're going to want to make sure that that is all empty and that there's nothing being stored in there. During election day, should the machine malfunction and you need an auxiliary bin, you would open this piece, put this flap down, and there would be a hole there. So make sure before election day starts that this metal piece is actually up on the machine so that people aren't trying to put ballots in there, or your count will be off at the end of the night. Okay, so you'll notice that I've been using the flat key on all of these round these round locks. That pertains to the ballots themselves. There's a cylinder key that actually works on the machine itself. So to open the machine, you'll put the key in here. Flat is open, up and down is locked, which is the opposite of the other. Okay, so this piece right here is just the lock to the front door, but there is a lock down here in the corner. And when you unlock that, this flips down, and you can see that the machine slides forward. The machine has a plug on the back of it. You want to make sure that that is secure. There's also a place to see if you've got a ballot jam back here. So that's what that lock is for. During the day, you want to make sure that that lock is securely in place and that this flap is locked down. Okay. So it does say the voting device is not ready to be opened for voting because the election definition is not found. We've got to put the election stick in here. So I'm going to give you a close-up of a couple of the items here. So as you can see here, there are 3 USB ports and one that says power and one that says close polls. There's also a little blue button. If you push down on the blue button, you'll see that this is the paper roll. I recommend that you start the day with a fresh paper roll. If you start with a short like that, you could run out. So let me get a paper roll. So once you've got the paper roll in, all you need to do is push down till you hear it snap and pull that paper off. So we need to get some data in here. Now, when you first get the machine, your clerk may have already done the qualify stick. So the qualify stick goes into any one of the 3 ports, and it only goes in one way. So be careful not to force the machine so that you don't wreck the stick. They do cost over $100 a piece, so we want to be very careful with them. Make sure that you're not losing the cap. So, okay, we've turned the paper over, and now you can see that it's printing and that it's running a configuration report. So if it starts and you don't see any printing, you know that you've got your paper in backwards. So we're going to say continue. This is your password screen. Make sure that your clerk has provided you the proper election code for this election. Once you've pressed in the code, press accept. Once it has started loading, you will see that the tape will run its qualification codes and a configuration report will complete. When you have this screen that it says it's ready for the polls to be open, just simply press Open Poll. Now you're getting your zero tape. Currently, the zero tape does not have a space for signatures. Okay, so the report is completely printed, and what you can see I've done here is I've just rolled the tape up and put a paper clip on it, and it'll just sit there. And unlike the Eagles, this won't report everything. Everything happens on the screen now, and this is an interactive screen that we're going to have the voters take a little more control of. So it reminds you to close the access door, place the key in the secure location. So it's asking us to lock everything up. So when I go to voting mode, I want to make sure that I have locked my door, and we're going to go over the sealing down the machine, but make sure that's locked, okay? And that nobody can get in there, because that data stick has to be secured all day long. So for elections, we're getting new seals and new bags, and so during this mock you may not see everything, but what you will see are these red residue-free security labels that we're going to place over the machine. So you just remove the label, and you're going to want to put this on top of the machine. And then you need to press this down. You need to rub on it because it is a tamper evidence seal, and it needs to be secured on there. If you just lay it on and then go peel it off, it's not going to say void, and it's not going to pursue its purpose here. So you can see here as I peeled it off and laid it back down how the void is coming across. So once you lay it down flat. If you have to remove this during the day, you're going to need to put another sticker on because it is tamper evident and it's got the void across. So I'll lay a new one across there. One thing your polling place is going to be needing is a little wire cutter because now, even if this is locked, there's the idea that people can get into the ballot bin and access the ballots. And so we're going to want to get a wire clip around here. Now you may get a wire clip like this, or you may get a 2-piece that I'll demonstrate on the other side. Either way, in order to get these off at the end of the night, you need a wire cutter. So this one goes into the hole, and you kind of push down and around, and it's one that just winds up and tightens down. So you just tighten it up, okay? And that's going to be a seal that you mark on your inspector statement for sealing the box. So we'll go to the other side and show the other style that I have, so if you're comfortable with both styles. So this other style comes in 2 pieces, and it would seem obvious that it goes up in this hole here, but that is not the case. So the first step is going to be to get your wire across, and sometimes I use the little nipper there to get through because that's kind of a tough spot to get through. So what you're going to do then is you're just going to feed one end of the wire in one hole on the side. There's a second hole on this side, and if your wire is got a rough edge, just trim the edge so that you can put that through the other hole. Slide it on up there and then squeeze this tight here, okay? So you're just pushing this in until it locks in place. Okay, so what you've got then is you've got a seal here that's not going to come out. At the end of the night, you're going to have to snip it through there in order to get that off. So that would be one that you would close and record the number, that number right there, on your inspector statement. If you don't like these extra little things, you can cut those off. So in your bag of seals, you'll also have some spring lock seals. And in some instances, people may want to lock the ballot bin tight. That's not necessary. We've always just made sure that these were locked and certified that they were locked. However, if you want to use the spring lock seals in here so that ballot access is made more secure, you can certainly do that. I will include those. If you've got some old white seals laying around that were like this that used to go on the manila flashcards for the Automark, please do not use these on the DS200 because they are not a residue-free seal like the one we just put on, and they will leave a white gum on the top of your machine. So only use the red or blue seals that I provide for you. If there's any other seals that you're missing throughout elections, just let me know and we'll get them to you. So now that we're sealed down and the keys are safe with the Chief Inspector, we're ready to start accepting ballots. Ready to go to voting mode. So now you're here and you're ready to accept ballots. So ballots are fed. You'll feel it grab and you'll wait for the flag screen. So load your test deck. So let's talk about the ballots now. They are going to look a little bit different. And as you can see, they're going to have timing marks all the way around the perimeter of the ballot on both sides. All of the sample ballots for this election, for this primary, have been scored as if they were absentees. And as you can see, the printer tried to put the folds between the timing marks on the ballot. The reason that he did that was so that we could play with these and make sure that nothing happened on the timing marks. The other thing you might see is on the top, on the headings of the ballots, instead of getting cardstock in colors now, we're going to see colored headers. So we've got yellow, pink, salmon green, blue, and buff as our primary options. Well, obviously, when you have your highest quantity, order white, and then you can choose your colors from there. So once the clerks have decided what colors, this is how they're going to look on the ballots, except it'll be a little bit more full and centered. But for this mock election, this was just fine. Each of you should receive in your ballot materials, this is a test deck tally sheet. And it basically is going to tell me how many ballots I've got total. So it's 12 ballots, and this is how many of each candidate or contest is being marked. On that, I've also, on the top of this, given you a sample of how I would like all the ballots marked. So the first two ballots are going to be for the Automark. And as you can see on the Automark, it goes a little bit over the oval, and that is perfectly okay. So you are going to have to fire up your Automark and test your ballots there. And on the third one, it's a pretty straightforward. The fourth one, I put in a line. Remember when people couldn't write in the alley of the arrows? Now there's some writing in there. I wanted you to see that that could happen. This is kind of straightforward. Ballot 6 has a couple of write-ins. So does 7 and 8. Now we get to 9, and your test ballot should actually be folded and marked in blue pen. And so I did some blue pen on this, and I'll show you when we're feeding them in. And I did some strange markings on here so that we can see how the machine responds to that. This ballot number 10 is really interesting because it's a poorly marked ballot. There may be voters out there that have a tendency to circle the oval, and that's going to cause problems with our counts. There also might be people who rebel against the arrow and want to put an arrow on the machine, or they might use X's. In this case, I actually traced the oval so that we could show a poorly marked ballot and what its outcome might be through our test. You always want to include a blank ballot, and effective with these new machines, overvote ballots must reject. You cannot override an overvoted ballot. So I've got 3 contested overvoted, and hopefully this ballot will reject. So ballot number 9 is actually the absentee ballot that you can see I have folded. I've kind of worn it down as if it's been through. And you can see that I marked it with a blue pen and that some of my markings were a little bit different here. So I did one with an X. So we'll have to see how the machine does count that one. Just till you feel it catch and then it'll go. This ballot is our poorly marked ballot, so that we'll have to see. This one actually may say, hey, I don't understand what's going on here. All the way in. There we go. So that accepted that one. So we'll see what our totals are. This is our blank ballot, and so we will get blank ballot. You've made no selections on this ballot. To correct your ballot, press return and see a poll worker for help. To cast your ballot without any selections, press cast blank ballot. So if Elise was a voter, she would have the options of pushing either return the ballot to me to vote it or cast a blank ballot. So go ahead and make your selection, whatever you decide you want to do. So she'll then return to the voting booth with her blank ballot and make the markings. And it does say your ballot was not cast, so it does give you that. And then this is our overvote. So that says overvoted contest, and it immediately rejected the ballot. So just to kind of see one more time here what it did, we'll feed it one more time just so you can see what it did. It will immediately spit it out because the state says no to overvoted ballots. Too many contests, you've made too many selections in 3 contests and you need to go see your poll worker. I will check on the timing of that contest to see if that screen can stay up longer. So we fed our test deck, so we are going to remove this label. And we need to get in here so that we can modem the results off to the clerk and test our modem. Once your test deck is completed and you're ready to close polls to transmit, reach in and hit close polls. The light's not going to come on, but you will get the option to close the poll. When you close the poll, your report total will print. So once you've printed your totals and you've chosen to close, you're going to want to take the sheet that you were provided with your test deck and go down and compare that it's 22321, 223111. If it's not, I would like to have you play with the ballots a little bit to see which ballots were perceived to go through and count and the contest actually didn't. I'm doing this for an example that the circled ovals, they may take, they may not take. So it's usually best if we remake the ballot for that. As you can see at the end of your tape totals, there is a place for you all to sign. Now on the screen it's going to give you your current signal strength, and even if you just have 1 bar, it's okay. Go ahead and hit the print modem process, begin modem process. It's going to check for the modem, and you're going to be getting the different modem started, contacting the primary host, and sending data. So we're looking for that successful screen. This process could actually take several minutes. If it doesn't go the first time, I encourage you to try again. So it is saying sending results. Now let's say that you've got a weak signal and you need to put an antenna up. Well, there's a little box back here that you can open, and there's a little antenna back here. So if you want to come and get a shot of the antenna here, you can put the antenna up to try to increase your signal strength. So you will just wait for the machine to contact the primary host, send the data, and you'll get a little confirmation screen when that's up. This is the screen that we're looking for, and of course you can then go ahead and hit the exit button, and then you're finished. Unless you need to reopen or do your report options, this is where you're going to get your extra tapes. Since I don't need an extra tape, I'm going to go ahead and do finished, turn off. Once it completely shuts down, you can go ahead and take your stick out here and close the equipment down per your instructions of your clerk and return everything to the county clerk.